Okay, so Chris is now going to be cutting the harness apart for the next 20 minutes. Then I'll have to leave and I'll just be here like, oh. All right, so we can't use that cam shaft position sensor because I believe that's the VVT setup. We have to use a plug. It's really hard to see here. That's up in there. So we have to undo this bracket assembly and plug in the camshaft position sensor there. The crank is up above the starter. So we'll have to try to get up there to the crank. That is, I'm assuming, is the knock, man, over here. How many plugs is the knock, Chris? So off camera, I got the whole intake set up with the sensors. We got our map up there. We got our throttle position sensor. This is the idle control valve, idle air control valve. Run all of that inside, back in there. And then here's our injector controls. Gonna make this be one of the plugs, and I'm gonna make another 12 plug that I can use for all of these. So I'm gonna shorten the Terminator harness to where I need it to be. I'm gonna mark off, I'm gonna tape off which wires are what, and then I'm gonna cut them back, and then we'll take these, plug them in on the intake, route them into our connector. So we just have 2 connectors to work with on the back of the motor. Then out the gate, I'm gonna leave as much as I can. So I'm just gonna measure out what I need to get from each sensor to this area. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut in front of that and then leave the rest on the line. I'm also gonna be plugging these in immediately so I don't forget what's what. Which, I mean, I shouldn't be able to. Got everything lined up. Can get our wedge in there. I think it's time to set this thing back up there, see what it looks like. You can see it back there. Now that's gonna angle up because the harness is gonna come through right about here. Cleans all that stuff up. You can barely see any of the harness inside of it. I like it. Now I'm gonna do my best to explain this next part. So the problem is, right, we're good here. We've got, this is our injector harness. Okay, so that's gonna go click in over there, no problem. Lengthwise, you know, it's a little hard to test this, but we're pretty good. And the map sensor you can see is 4 individual wires, right? They're independent of anything else. So I can cut the map wires there, hook them into that, no problem. The problem comes in with like our, right here, oh wait, that's not the map. Oh no, I mislabeled that. One sec. All right, this is actually the IAC. So the idle air control valve, this one has 4 of its own wires. So we can cut it all the way back here and run it right into the plug. The map pulls power right here. This, I'm assuming, is power. The orange and then black, which is a ground. Now those, so you can see red is what feeds back to the ECU. The orange feeds into the wiring harness and then back into this kind of 2 for 2. I don't really know. Which leads to more power out for these other sensors, which splits kind of back in this. See how our ground hooks in here? So this ground goes into this like master ground for the longer sensors that be out at the throttle body, which then also comes back, and splits there. So you can see right there, the orange and the black with white stripe, they are split like like just a ton of splits on them. It's not a giant problem, but like, you know, I gotta work my brain extra hard to make sure that once I snip these, I actually come back and give them the power that they need, because essentially I'm cutting the wire higher up in the harness. I won't find it lower in the harness. And if I cut it any lower in the harness, then I'm gonna have to resplit the power out to everything else. I have to be conscious of that when I make the next connection. That being said, for the map, you can see the way it's wired, because it cuts in here. I can actually bring the map all the way down with its existing strand. And we got plenty of room to make it to that sensor. So I just have to tape it off here so that we get everything kind of itemized there. But the TPS complicates things with its ground. So that's got to go, you know, if I cut this here, that's got to go all the way back somewhere else. I have to cut it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the brown and green out for the TPS. I'm going to leave this black here as is. I'm just going to leave it with the TPS tape on it. And then I'll pull these back to the length I need them to be. Put some new tape on that and go from there. Now I've got TPS, the IAC, and the map mapped out. Everything kind of in a one bundle here to go to this plug. The only thing I need to add for the TPS is a ground that has to come back through. So I'm gonna go ahead and snip these as is. I'll probably use the ground off this map wire. That way the color code stays the same. So I went ahead and compared it to that one over there, and I wrote down what's doing what, which wire is going where, so I can just have this in hand and push them in without having to go back and forth a bunch. Get these pushed in now. Should go on like that, so let's get working on the rest of them. And there we go. Got our plug, all the wires coming out. The harness right here. I didn't have to do anything to these orange wires yet. There's our power. I do have to eventually ground this, but I'm gonna wait in the same manner of those orange wires. I gotta see what's gonna end up happening when we get to the, like, further down the harness. So I'm gonna put the intake back on, start plugging the stuff in that we can plug in. Get over here to our driver's side ignition. We need about 18, 17 inches more wire, and I'm probably just gonna cut it in here and splice it because I don't really have another way of doing that. At the same time, I could cut this and just put in like a connector strand, essentially, that I would use to like cut this off here, have a connector that goes to the extension harness, and then the extension harness that plugs back into this thing. It's also an option. Okay, now we've got our wiring harness all set up, running from over there. It's the right length, so we'll be able to plug it in back over here. Okay, coming out of there, coming back through, going over this way. I might even send it underneath. Not quite sure yet, but I could do that. I could go underneath the brake booster and come up, but then I'm afraid it get caught on the steering shaft or something. So either way, reaches over there. Now we got to move on to the next thing. Okay, now I'm going to work these wires back into the main harness and have them come out right here to run to the even side coils. We got that coming out right there, so that's all looking pretty good. It's going to come back over to the center, and now I got to figure out what the next thing I'm doing is, because I've got my coils done, but I need to make sure I can get like these sensors plugged in and all that stuff. So driver side knock sensor is pretty close. Might be able to make something work up top there to be able to get it down. All right, that's where the passenger side knock sensor would go, but I don't have one currently, so I'm not sure how much that really matters at that point. Get our MAT sensor hooked up. Ran that back into our master plug here. Shortened the blue wire to go into that. And we have another ground wire running off that we'll have to put together. All right, I'm in uncharted territory here getting this cam sensor done. So I don't know, man. This has VVT. I've read so much crap about this. I've gotten so many comments about this. I don't freaking know. So I pulled off the cam sensor. It's 3-plug here. And then this goes to the phaser. I think I can just plug in the actual cam plug here to this thing, put a screw back in here, and just move on with life. Maybe when I go to tune this thing and run it, it just won't work, but we'll see. Now we've got our cam sensor, and we've got our coolant temp sensor. Running up into this loom, right back in here. I'm leaving this long for now. And I think at this point, our oil, that should be good. This goes to the injectors. I think we're good. It's just, I have to clean up this wire, which is the fuel pressure sensor, which I kind of want to keep somewhere. Cut off the fuel pressure sensor, so I don't need that right now. Okay, now we've got all our grounds coming in, grouped them in together, kind of at the end of our master, like the Holly, where the Holly harness had all these coming into one. We went ahead and just kind of created a loop there, so we're all grounded out now. Okay, now I'm going to cut the power line here. This is the main power harness, so I'm going to cut this one right about here, give myself a little extra room to work with, and that gives me kind of a ton of extra here that I don't need to use. Now I got to get the grounds of the cylinder heads done. Just going to snip them. I got to extend them a little bit. Take this one back here. Same will go over there. I think that's a 10 millimeter and that's an 8 millimeter. Got everything taped up on the motor side of the harness, so now it's time to feed the harness through, and I should be able to start plugging everything in. Now I got to figure out all this wiring that's coming off this. This was like the original starter setup. It's got the battery. It's got like the battery terminal on it. It has the grounds and stuff. But the reality is I don't need any of these sensors other than the starter signal, the ground for that, or the hot side, which I think is this one. And then that's like the chassis ground or engine ground. So I'm going to pull this all apart. See if I'm going to reuse it or if I just run my own wires. I was able to pull everything out. So what's left is we have this one ground, which I assume goes to the engine because the chassis ground is here. We have this connector. Now this connector has a black with green and a black power. So this black cable goes back to the power. There's a 4-way divide right there. That goes to what I think is the starter solenoid. And then power is also like the block itself. So it's kind of weird because the starter solenoid one is like directly attached to the power. I'm not quite sure how this works yet. But maybe this is the actual, I don't know. Whatever. There's a bunch of different connectors. This one is the only one that it's got like pretty big wires, and it ran into this black clip here, which goes into the main harness. It's making me think that that is like the power that goes into the cab and all that stuff. So I'm going to put the batteries on, see if anything happens. If nothing happens, I'll go in the cab and turn the key and see if anything happens. And we'll go from there. Now I'm going to plug in the black connector, not put that gray wire or the green wire anywhere because it wasn't hooked up to anything. It just has like a spade connector on the end of it. So I'll plug the connector in, try everything again, see if I get power in the cab. All right, so we have most of our hot wiring done. Gonna need to pull power from here for the fans and the fuel pump, but otherwise the Holley stuff is coming in. This is our stock hot wire. This is the stock wire to the starter. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this ground out of here so I can work with this wire a little bit. This is just an engine ground, so got plenty to work with here. I'm going to shorten it so I have enough to work and get this over here with the new, the new black connector. So I'm just going to break this loose and shift it over, retape some of this, and then should be fine. Like just a couple inches. We've got our starter wire, we got the trigger wire here, main battery positive on that post. That's all basically using the stock Mazda wiring. Then we ground it out over here on the block. Now that we've got the starter hooked up, I just want to put oil in this thing, and I just want to bump it on the key, and that'll be good for me. That'll be good for me today. Got our oil in. Let me check if there's leaks. Hook up the old battery. I hope if I wired it right, it doesn't really start trying to start. Hell yeah. Okay, now we got our catch can installed over here. Got our end port out. Teed everything off back here. Runs up and around. Over here. Barely can tell it's there. Starts out over here. Also got our radiator line plumbed. Good to go. Nice and tight. Not sure how I'm going to clean this up yet. I'm getting the hot and the chassis ground set up, but like the way this whole thing is set up currently, it's like the perfect wrong length because I have this big assembly right here for the blower, and I can't like go up and over it come back down. I can't like come up to the front here. Like, I don't know. This thing is just so thick that it's hard to fit anywhere. But I'm going to get the hots and everything run, because then I should be able to key on and make sure this thing has power. Okay, we're at our moment of truth here. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery, hook up the sensors to the Terminator, and then I'm going to hook the battery back up, turn the key, and hopefully everything turns on. Okay, battery's hooked up. Let's give it a shot. Huh. Okay. Well, that's going. The handheld unit isn't doing anything. That's weird. Yeah, so this thing pulls out of the Terminator, or pulls out of the fitting. You can see in there. I don't know if I can get that to zoom. Yeah, so it's pulled out. So I don't have power to the handheld. That's a little frustrating. So I couldn't get that pin connector working, so I'm just going to make my own Deutsch connector here for this to go up to the handheld, and we'll go from there. Got our new connector made. Hopefully I lined everything up right. Now, if I hit the key, should see the Terminator handheld will come on. Hell yeah. I'm still waiting on the connector for the alternator, but we do have our wire set up running off the post of the alternator. Bringing that down underneath. Gonna go up and get it hooked up to that main wire up there. Looks like you're just like working your back. What? The shit you can get yourself into, like the spaces that you can work in, like are hilarious to me.
It's like working in a coal mine.
It's what it looks like. Or you're like inside some like diesel generator. Like the one guy who could fit back in there.
I knew a tank operator.
That's what it looks like.
The only reason he was a tank operator is because he was small.
Small.
He's just like, I don't know why they chose me. Maybe it's because I'm so short compared to everybody else. Everybody else was like 6+ feet.
Right.
And he was not. He's like a little bit shorter than me.
You're a spot weldery guy?
No, I'm trying to fill the hole.
Oh, okay, yeah. I get that. So we got some crap down there. I'm going to try to vacuum that out. So we can work with that thread, see if the fittings we have work, and we'll go from there. So ideally this is going to stop before I get it all the way down. Man, I don't know. Wait, I think it did. Okay. I just went ahead and cut that sucker. A little bit of a drip, a little vacuum lock, I assume. So we're gonna go ahead and put a little thing down there to catch it. I'm gonna bust this thing right off. Oh boy. See how much of a mess this becomes. Oh, not that much. Cool. I like this. This is going well. It's our new fitting. It's fairly similar. I hope it fits. Gonna put it straight on this end. See if we can get a bend in this to come around without pinching the. My main concern would be pinching the hose in here. Now, see what I mean here? So this is coming off straight. It's gonna almost need to immediately start bending and complete a loop into this thing here on a 90. Now, I think I can get something like this shape and try to start bending it like that. It's about a finger long that it needs to make that happen. And it needs to stay relatively in plane so that it stays away from the header. We'll see how this goes. Honestly, this is rendition 1. I have the fittings to do this, so I'm going to try it. If not, we'll see. I'm not going to go down that road yet. I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, that's about what we're looking for. I'm gonna try to move this off and hold it there, and we'll see where I actually have to cut it. So like roughly right there will be the cut point. We'll slice it off, go from there. Cut a little baby line, clean it up. Mungled this end up too much when I made the cut, so I've got to start over. Freaking heater shut off again. The freaking heater shut off again. All right. How safe do you think this is, guys? It's got the bend in it. It comes around. It stays relatively low, but and it clears over here. I just don't know if that header is like right there, man. Curious how that's gonna go. Also, this is like not. I'll have to tighten that with a wrench. It just seems to like not want to get tight. It's kind of interesting. We'll check that out. So I finished it off. It's gonna hit the header. I just checked it here, so take a look. I mean, there's gonna be a little bit of an air gap, like maybe a 1/4 inch, but as you can see, it's looped right in front of the header. So gonna have to figure something else out. I might have to bring it down here and like put a 180 fitting so I can bring it back over to the feed there. It just feels weird, but I don't know what else to try. Okay, I just flipped the line around. Literally just took the 90 in the straight, and just switched sides. And honestly, that's like ideal right now. I like this.
All right, so what was I doing? I was gonna do
The stop, I guess.
what? Oh
The
yeah,
stop.
I was gonna back out that.
So I got the new fuel rail on. Replaced the leaking one. I have the drive shaft set in, but I cannot find the right hardware, or at least any of the hardware stores around me. I can't get the right stuff, so got to order some hardware for the drive shaft. I got 2 of the 3 upper radiator mounts done. This one broke a bolt, so kind of got a mess here to deal with, but these will work for now. The idea is that there's like a pad back behind these that holds the radiator there. The lower mounts are in. Still have to get the clamps on the radiator. I think I have to get different size clamps from what I have. And then I still have to get the signal wire to the relays here. These 2 relays, which will run the fans. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to just hit the key with all this shit half together and see if it'll fire. Because I mean, we've got the base tune loaded, but like it's got a sealed fuel system. It's got oil in it. It doesn't have coolant, but everything else should run. Good Lord. It was very, very icky. Very icky indeed. Forget that I'm surprised the drive shaft wiggled out. All right, I gotta get everything else finished on this thing before I go any further. Stay tuned for the next one.